Hi there, in this video we're going to continue how to simplify expressions. So, the first example I'm going to show you is how to simplify -4 plus 2x plus 4x. Okay, so you need to make sure that you know what terms, like terms, constants, coefficients, all of that. You need to make sure that you know your vocabulary. So, I have this positive 2x and this positive 4x. Those are considered like terms because they both have x's, and we can actually combine them or just add them. CLT, combine like terms. That's technically just adding your like terms. So 2x plus 4x gets you 6x's. Okay, and then you have this -4, which is alone. You just bring it down. So your simplified expression is technically 6x plus 4, or sorry, 6x minus 4. And you can't go any further than that. Because you can't combine 6x's with this -4 or -4. The next example I'm going to show you is 4x plus 5 minus 6x plus 2 plus 6x. Okay, let's start with our like terms. We have a 4x here. We have a -6x. Remember, minus is considered a negative, the same thing. Then we have this plus 6x. -6x and positive 6x cancel out, right? They're just 0. Right? If you add them, you just get 0. So you're actually just left with this 4x. And then your constants, you have this 5 plus 2. So 5 plus 2 is 7. So your final answer for for this problem would be 4x plus 7. You can't go any further than that. You can't combine 4x's plus 7 and make it 11x. That's not correct. It's not simplified. You can't combine this 4x plus 7 because one has an x, the other one doesn't. Okay, next expression. We have 9x plus 6 plus 3x minus 2 minus 5x. Alright, so this expression, we're going to combine our like terms. So we have 9x's, positive 3x's, negative 5x's. So 9 plus 3 is 12x, and then minus 5 is 7x's. And then we have this positive 6 plus a negative 2, which gets you a positive 4, or a plus 4. So our final answer for this would be 7x plus 4, and you can't go any further than that. That would be your final answer. For your next expression, we have s plus 10 plus 6s minus 8. Okay, so our like terms are this s plus 6s, which gets you 7s's, right? If you want to pretend like there's a 1 in front of that s, you could. And then we have this positive 10 plus a negative 8, which gets you this positive 2. So your final answer is 7s plus 2. Okay, our next example is q minus 12 plus q plus 9. Now, even though it has parentheses, there is technically this plus sign here. Okay, so because there's a plus sign here, this plus sign actually says we can add the terms any which way that we want. So if you prefer to rewrite this all so that you can see it better, that's fine. But since there is a plus sign here, we don't actually need those parentheses. So I just rewrote the problem below without parentheses, and now I'm going to start. So I'm going to make this a 1q, this a 1q, because your q's aren't just alone, right? They always have an invisible 1 in front of them. And now we can add 1q plus 1q gets you 2q's. Okay, and then this negative 12 plus 9 gets you this minus 3, or negative 3. So your final expression is 2q minus 3. Okay, our next example we have n minus 8 minus negative 3n plus 2. Now this is a little bit different from the last problem because we have this negative sign. Okay, this, or not negative, subtraction sign, negative sign, however you want to think of it. Okay, now in the last problem, we had a plus in there, so it didn't matter the order that we added them. Now though, we have a minus sign, or a negative, and now the order does matter. So what we're going to do first, so that we can make it so that the order doesn't matter, is we're just going to add a negative 1. When we add a negative 1 between the minus and the parentheses, okay, now we can distribute this negative 1 to this negative 3n, negative 1 to this 2, okay? So negative 1 times negative 3n gets you a positive 3n. Negative 1 times 2 gets you negative 2. And then the rest of this, we can just bring it down. So n minus 8, and then plus 3n minus 2. Now, if you need to put in a positive, or if you need to put in a 1 before that floating n that's alone, you can do that. And then you can start combining your like terms. So this is a 1n plus 3n, which gets you 4n's. Okay, and then this is a negative 8 minus 2, or negative 8 plus a negative 2, which gets you a negative 10, or minus 10. Okay, so your final answer is 4n minus 10. Your next expression, now we're getting a little bit more difficult. 3 parentheses 3x minus 1 minus 2 parentheses 2x plus 5. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute whatever I can. Okay, you want to distribute everything. So 3 times 3x gets you 9x. 3 times negative 1 gets you negative 3. Now I'm going to distribute this negative 2. Negative 2 times 2x gets you negative 4x. Negative 2 times 5 gets you a negative 10. So that's the first thing I did, was I distributed whatever I could. Next, I'm going to combine my like terms. 9x plus negative 4x gets you 5x's. Okay, then you have this negative 3 plus a negative 10, which gets you a negative 13. So 5x minus 13 would be your final answer for this problem. Then your next expression, what is negative 4x plus 1 minus 7x plus 9. This is an x. Alright, so for this expression, you're going to put in your negative 1's. Remember, anytime you have a minus next to a parenthesis, you want to pretend like there is an invisible 1 next to it. Okay, and then we can start distributing. So, negative 1 times 4 x's gets you negative 4 x's. Negative 1 times a positive 1 gets you a negative 1. Now, when we distribute on this side, we have negative 1 times 7x, negative 7x's. Negative 1 times 9, negative 9. And now at this step, we can do negative 4x's plus negative 7x's, right? We can combine our like terms. Both of those have an x, so we can add them. 4 negatives plus 7 negatives is 11 negatives, or negative 11 x's. And then negative 1 plus negative 9 gets you a negative 10. So just some things to remember. Okay, anytime you have a negative and a parentheses, there's technically a 1 in the front of it, and then you can distribute to your two terms, whatever your two terms are. You can't combine a constant with a term that has a variable. Okay, so that's important. And then last, you just want to make sure that you have no parentheses, so no parentheses, and no like terms.